Hello, it's Romanosky and Aidan Goss shooting from Calgary, Canada, from the Lugnuts facility. And what we have here is a 1978 Corvette 25th anniversary car. It's completely original, and it's a very well-preserved car with 50,000 kilometers from new. So it's a real find. So we'll break this video up into sections, and there's a table of contents. And so you can skip ahead. You don't necessarily have to digest the entire video in one sitting. The Chevrolet Corvette is truly an American icon. It went into production in 1953 and is still being made today. There are various versions of the Corvette, from C1 to the current C8. This particular car is a C3, which went into production in 1967 and lasted until 1982. This was the longest production run of any Corvette variant, which saw 542,741 produced. The 1979 model year has the single year production record to this day, with 53,870 copies of that year produced. The 1978 Corvette, which this is, wasn't far behind, with 46,776 Corvette silver anniversary models, as they were called, because it was 25 years since they were introduced in 1953. The C3 Corvette was adapted from Larry Shinoda's Mako Shark 2 concept under the direction of GM styling chief Bill Mitchell. Zora Arkus Duntov was the chief engineer. The C3 was to have been a mid-engine platform, but the last-minute change, this was abandoned, and the C3 used a mildly modified C2 chassis. Initially, there were two body styles, a convertible and a notchback coupe, though the convertible was dropped for 1976. Various engine transmission options were offered throughout the production run, with the small and big block V8s and manual or automatic transmissions offered. Engines were available in multiple states of tune. The three sub-series of C3 Corvettes were the Series 194 from 1968 to 1971, the Series Z from 1972 to 1975, and the Series Y from 1976 to 1982. That makes this 1978 car a Series Y. The model year 1978 was the 25th anniversary, and all 1978 Corvettes are badged 25th anniversary. They had a new fastback roofline, which replaced the notchback, and they all had the T-roof. Although optionally you could get a glass T-roof. The styling change allowed for better visibility and more cargo space. It was the only body style available. The convertible version was dropped. The mechanical changes for 1978 included a widened transverse rear leaf spring, a new manual and automatic gearbox. The fuel tank was increased in size from 17 gallons to 24. There were two 350 cubic inch V8 engine options, the L48 at 185 horsepower and the L82 with 220 horsepower. This model is the L48. The gearbox options were a manual gearbox or an automatic. With the L48, it came with a Muncie 4-speed, and with the L82, you were given a choice of wide or close ratio Borg-Warner 4-speed manuals. The 3-speed automatic was the same for both engines. There were two tire options. The standard equipment was the 225/70/15, and optionally available were 255/60/15s, which this car wears. Other options included a power antenna, CB radio, power windows and locks, air conditioning, the glass T-roof panels, leather steering wheel, cruise control, and power door locks. All 1978 Corvettes wore Silver Anniversary Edition badging, although there were 10 color choices and 2 special paint schemes. One was the Silver Anniversary B2Z option package for $399 in a two-tone silver and metallic gray scheme, which this car is, and the other special paint scheme was the black and silver Indy 500 pace car livery. The total Corvette production for 1978 of 46,776, there were 15,283 1978 Corvettes built with the B2Z Silver Anniversary Edition silver and metallic gray paint scheme. Mandatory options with this were 15-inch aluminum wheels and dual sport mirrors. There were also 6,502 IndyCar pace car examples, and the 10 other colors made up the balance of Corvette production. Base price in the US for the 1978 Corvette was $9,351. The Silver Anniversary editions were about $12,500, and the Indy Pace Car edition was the most expensive at about $13,500 MSRP. Road and Track tested the L48 Corvette and achieved performance numbers of 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds, quarter mile in 15.3 seconds at 95 miles an hour. Top speed was 127 miles an hour. This 1978 Corvette Silver Anniversary Edition was bought new in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and it stayed with the original owner since. The car is 100% original, never modified, and the odometer, the working odometer, shows mileage of just under 50,000 kilometers. It was optioned with the L48 V8 coupled with the 4-speed Muncie manual gearbox. It has AC, power windows, AM/FM stereo, power antenna, leather-wrapped steering wheel, as well as the B2Z 25th option package, which included the silver on gray metallic paint scheme, polished aluminum wheels, and the interior chosen was the oyster leather with the cloth inserts. It was bought from Logan Chevolds in Yorkton, Saskatchewan on May 10th, 1978. MSRP on the vehicle was $14,235.50, according to the original sales document. It was sold at a $1,750 discount, and it had a 1977 Pontiac Firebird trade-in. The car has always been in Yorkton, and the last registration is dated 1986. First, let's do a close walk around of the body. To the best of my ability, I believe this car has all original paint, apart from, it looks like over here, if you, Aiden, you want to come over here? It looks like some paint was blown in this area here. I don't believe the stripe has ever been disturbed, but I do see evidence of a blend line in this area. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I believe there is some new paint blown in here, blown in this area. Also, I talked to the wife of the owner, and she says this happened in a grocery store parking lot, and when the car was almost new, and she says she was very pleased that she felt that her husband really loved her because he didn't make too much of a fuss when she brought back the car with some damage on it. Okay. Otherwise, we can do a slow pan. We've got, I mean, the odd, you know, assorted imperfections and small chips throughout. The only other place I saw fiberglass, there is a little bit of a stress crack down there. Probably from the same incident this happened. So we've got a little bit, actually, and I'm not, yeah, I guess that is fiberglass, but not on the actual body, just on the bumper cover. So we have those stress cracks. I know with a fiberglass car, that would be one thing that people are concerned about, and the rest of the body is pretty good. particularly the nose section, which doesn't look like it's ever been hit. So we can get some close-up shots just running around the car. And we've got hundreds of photographs as well. There's a little bit of road rash. It comes from a farming community with lots of gravel roads, and so, you know, there is some. If we look behind the rear wheel here, you know, we can see a little bit of gravel rash, as you might expect from a car from that location. Okay. The paint has, I would say, a decent shine, and it just looks original. So I actually do not think this car should be painted. I think it's an artifact that looks great the way it is, and it presents very well. So there's, you know, assorted few rock chips, little scrapes throughout, little chips throughout, but it's all uniform, and you know, in keeping with the you know, use and mileage of the car. I guess there's a little bit of again, more road rash here, and you can see that's picked up some. But again, nothing that warrants a paint job, in my opinion. Looking at the glass and chrome, you know, the rubber and the adhesive still looks in good shape. It's not cracking. The chrome surround for the windshield is unpitted and not oxidized. The chrome trim on the doors, the door handles, all looks good. We've got all the correct badging in place. Front emblem, you know, doesn't really have much fading. There's not a lot of chrome on the car, but what there is in decent shape. There's this, I'm not sure if it's chrome or aluminum, but the surround for the T-tops is also in nice shape. There's no chips in any of the glass that I can really make out, or scratching of the glass. I guess there's a tiny little pit right there. And I guess there's one there too. So a couple little chips in the glass, no surprise. The rims are in good shape, I think. There's one little mark there. The rest of them, I think, are uncurbed. Let's just go take a look around. So exterior, I mean, the car presents really nicely. I mean, it doesn't present as new. You know, if you get into 2-3 feet, you can see some minor imperfections, but, you know, it presents just uniformly in terms of its wear, and there's no real area that stands out as a flaw. The paint still has a good luster, still looks cool, looks nice. Okay, so let's go to the interior now. Now, there's a few things that Corvette guys are going to want to check here. And so the question that every Corvette buyer is going to want to know is, is the mileage original, or has the odometer rolled? And so this creates lots of debate. So why don't we start with concentrating on pedals, carpets, seats, and so forth, the items in the interior which would indicate wear on the car. Next, we can also have a look at the base of the birdcage where it meets the chassis, and we remove the kick panels to do that, and we can show you that. So let's get in here, and if Aidan will just take the camera in, and we have two sets of mats with the car. These are the original mats. We can show those, okay? So almost no wear at all. And then these are replacement mats as well. Okay, so we have two sets of mats. And we can get a shot of the original carpeting. And if we want to zero in on the, we've got close-ups of the pedals, but maybe just get the...
It's zoomed in.
Okay, so just showing the edge of the brake pedal and the gas pedal and the clutch, and you can see that there's minimal wear to the pedals. Or maybe just get right in there and get a close-up of those. Okay, secondly, if we remove these kick panels, then we can see the base of the, and maybe I'll just take the camera and do that. We can see the base of the bird cage, what's called the bird cage here. Get this out of the way. And so we can see down there. And so we've got a little bit of corrosion on the top of the fastener, but that's it. So that looks excellent, okay? So for the people that are concerned that, you know, the frame, or the surround for the windscreen and so on, that structural piece is rusty, you can see that, that it clearly isn't. And we'll do the same thing for the other side as well. Let's go over here. Okay, so all that looks excellent. A tiny little bit of surface rust on the fastener, and that's it. Okay. So those are two important things to show. Otherwise, and then let's go look at the driver's seat. So, you know, we look at wear on the bolster, and there's just the tiniest little, you can see that, just the tiniest little evidence of wear. The cushions are still firm, you know, the foam hasn't collapsed. And also on this part of the seat, we can get that as well. And we can show that. So do it, just go pan around the seats. And you can see it's the two-tone leather and cloth. We can also shoot the steering wheel here. You know, if it was a higher mileage car, you'd see some wear in the steering wheel, and also on the gear shift knob and the instrument cluster. So let's just do a slow pan through that. We have the original key fob from Logan, which was the dealership where this was purchased in, let's just see, yeah, in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. So, and the exact kilometers are, what is it, 49,353? Okay. So interior looks really nice, and we can get a look at the in the rear compartment here. Which looks good. Here's the strap to hold down the T-roofs. We've got these cabinets. This is I guess that's a cover for the T-roofs. And I do have some documentation from Logan Chevrolet, and a few pieces in here anyway. And then we've got the original bill of sale as well. Okay, so that's what's in there. This one, nothing, and then it has a new battery, which we just put in the car over there. Okay, so that's everything. We have this parcel shelf, which is in good shape. and it's all very clean. There's no stains on the carpets. Importantly, for any vehicle in long-term storage, there were no mice in this car. It doesn't smell like mice. There's no evidence of any rodents or anything being inside. They used lots of kind of dryer sheets in the car that kept them away. So there was never any droppings, never any contamination of four-leggeds or eight-leggeds or any other kind of insects or whatever. Okay, so there's no funny odors in this car, and that can happen quite easily with cars left on farms, as you can imagine. Okay, it all looks actually really good in the interior, really nicely preserved, and the T-tops as well. I guess we can demonstrate those, get these out of the way, and these come out really easily. Okay, so this car was always covered, not only in a covered carport, but also with a cover on it. And so all this stuff is in really good shape, and there's no evidence of any water getting in here and rusting anything. Okay, so the T-tops and the frame for them is in really nice shape. Okay. Do you want to just pan across the top there? It doesn't look like it has a lot of wear. I mean, sometimes, you know, these pins get missed and this area gets cut up a little bit. But it's still in good shape. All the vinyl is still in nice shape. These pieces aren't sun damaged because they'll crack pretty easily if they get left in the sun, and we don't see that. Actually, there is a crack. There is a crack here, so there is one. Okay, so maybe just do some slow shots through the interior in case we missed anything. And do the sills as well, carpets and the sill plates. And the door panels. We do have a little bit of a tear here. Not sure what happened. Oh, I know what happened. Probably the seatbelt. Yeah, the seatbelt got in between that and the door and ripped that. In this section, we can look at the chassis of this C3 Corvette. What you see with the photograph on your left is the chassis before we painted it. We took the car when we first got it. We pressure washed and degreased the chassis. We blew it out, blew the dust out of it, and dirt and bit of gravel and stuff out with a CO2 blaster. And then we treated the metal parts, the chassis and the cross members and suspension, with a phosphoric acid solution, which basically just neutralizes any of the surface rust and leaves kind of a phosphate coating on it. Okay, so that's the stage where we got to with the photograph on the left. And then we took the additional step of coating it with POR 15. Once you use the acid to take off the surface rust, then it becomes a lot more susceptible to rusting. So we thought it was necessary to then go over it and coat it with POR 15. So the key points that I want to make with the chassis was that there was absolutely no soft metal or flaking or holes or any kind of advanced corrosion on any part of the chassis. It was all straight. It had never been hit, and all there was just like a light dusting of surface rust basically, and that was it. And so now we've, like I said, we've cleaned it up, and then we've added the coating of POR 15, so the rust paint on it, and so it should be good for, another 50 years. And here we're just cycling through some photographs. This shows the new MagnaFlow mufflers that are on the car, and various shots of the underneath of the car. These shots show the new suspension bushes that were put in. They were cracked when we got them. The new brake calipers and new lines, soft lines and hard lines. That's the original fiberglass body, which we cleaned up a little bit. No damage. You can see the oil pan. It's the original finishes on that and so on. And there we can see the POR 15 paint. So we just put it on. We just put it on the chassis and the major suspension pieces. We didn't like blow in spray paint or anything like that. And that's a close-up of the chassis just after the wheel, and you can see that it's all completely solid. That's the rear leaf spring, and you can see the new hardware and new bushes that were put in there. Those items were cracked, and I guess they're Flowmaster is the exhaust. I don't think they would have had those tips, but we couldn't resist putting on nice tips. This shows the new tires, BF Goodrich Comp TAs, exactly the same as what came off the car, and those ones even had the stickers on them, but they were age cracked, so they were replaced. There's the underneath of the car showing the fiberglass nose cone, which isn't cracked. So a light little bit of scuffing on the leading edge of that, but no serious damage. This shows the outriggers, the floors, and again the coating of POR 15 that we put on the entire chassis. The engine bay, we just left original finishes on the valve covers. This shows new spark plug wires, which were put in, and this photo here shows the ignition wire shield in place. The vacuum canisters for the headlights, and more shots of the engine bay. It's the brand new master cylinder that's in the car. It all looks basically just original. We didn't try to really beautify it by repainting it. We just thought if we could just leave it alone, we would. In the last shot here, we see the engine bay. This is before the cover was installed over the distributor, so we can see the new spark plug wires. and also before the heat shields have been reinstalled after installing those wires. Okay, so part 2 of our Corvette driving video series. This is the my 1978 Corvette silver anniversary. And we'll take it for a short drive and just sort of demonstrate that it works. This car came out of long-term storage. It was bought new at Logan Chev GM, Chev Olds, I guess, in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, by a Yorkton resident, and it stayed in Yorkton, Saskatchewan its entire life. He also had a Jag E-Type, which we also bought. He got too old to drive the car, and they were, selling their property. He moved into an assisted living home, and we bought both this car and the Jag from his wife. Okay, so I don't know. She doesn't know too much about the car, but filled me in with some details. It hadn't moved in about at least 5 or 6 years. When I got it, it had BF Goodrich radial TA tires on it that were cracked with a date stamp of 2016 on them. And the battery was only a few years old. And the widow told me that, it was started and ran every year. So I don't know too much about it other than that. I have a sticker here from one of the shops in Yorkton to service the car at 52,350 kilometers. The car is 49,600 kilometers on it now. I've put about 200 or 300 kilometers on it. So presumably it went in for service, got new tires, got a new battery around 6 years ago. Has traveled maybe 1,000 kilometers before I got it. And then we got it and started the recommissioning process, which was quite extensive. We replaced the entire braking system from master cylinder to the lines to rotors, pads, and calipers. The whole braking system was new. Like I said, we bought new tires for it. We changed the plugs and oil and fluids and filters and so forth. Did a couple of electrical items. The horn didn't work, and one of the window switches didn't work. And we addressed some of the suspension because some of the bushes had dried out. And we went through the suspension, replaced everything that needed it. The mufflers were rusty, and so we put on new, I think they're Flowmaster mufflers in the same style as original. So we did all that to the car, and I've been driving it around lately. It's nice, and I'm actually quite enjoying the car. There's still a few little things that don't work, but I'm been kind of slowly picking away at things. But I was anxious to kind of start driving the car and enjoying the car. So I'll start it up. It's a hot day. It's around 25 degrees C. The car's been sitting for a couple of hours, but it's still going to have heat in the ignition or in the engine. People might want a cold start video, so maybe I'll add that later, but I can't do it right now. So we'll get in the car, drive it around, show you what the gauges say. I'll take the microphone off and start it and get Aiden to record and view what comes out of the exhaust, so that'll be helpful. And I'll just go fire the car up, and you can see what comes out of the exhaust, and then what it sounds like. Okay, so now it's idling. We can lift the bonnet. Valve train's quiet. The engine, you know, idles really quite happily. We have the, what would that be? I think it's probably the AC pump that's clicking on and off. The car runs cool. Even in, you know, as hot as it gets in Calgary, 30 degrees or something like that. I've never seen the car get hot. There maybe a little bit of noise from the alternator. Very slight, but there could be a bearing in that that's on its way out. But overall, the car runs really nicely. Idles smooth. No valve train noises. No, you know, knocks or any other serious issues. Do you want to just rev it for me a little bit? Just keep it at maybe like 2,000 RPM. A steady 2,000 RPM. So as the revs rise, that kind of little rattle from the alternator goes away, and no, actually the car just runs really well. Okay, so let's go. We'll look at the gauges and we'll take it for a ride now. Okay, so handbrake's on. Handbrake works. I guess we got 150 degrees of heat in the engine. I've never seen it get close to 200. It's always on the side of the low side of 200, even in traffic. Fuel gauge doesn't work. I'm not sure if it's the gauge or the sender. I might have a chance to look at that, but for right now it doesn't work. Clock doesn't work. Oil pressure, you know, it's showing hot idle at, well, I guess that's about 25 psi. On the road, we mostly get around 40, and then start up from cold, we hit about 60. And the amp meter shows that it is charging. The AM, FM 8-track works. Blower motor works. All these vents work for hot air at least, and cool air. The electric windows work. It has a new switch on the passenger side, which we put in. And can't really comment on the rear defogger because it's been summer.
It felt like it was blowing cold there. Was it?
I think it's just cool air, not. Actually, it does feel kind of cold, doesn't it?
It's not hot. It's pretty cold air.
Yeah, you know what? The AC is working. Yeah, that definitely is working. It's cool. It's not like super cold, but it does actually work. All right, AC mostly works, or sort of works. I don't think it's like super cold though. It's mostly just cool. Okay, so that's that. We know that the lights work. We did that before, where we went through all the lights: signal lights, brake lights. The vacuum for the front light works. We'll splice that in. But let's go for a ride. Clutch engagement is really smooth and progressive. There's no chatter. Okay, so I don't know how you'd stall this car. There's a little bit of a rattle from one of the heat shields or the exhaust clamps on the overrun. When I take my foot abruptly off the gas, I kind of get this little rattle noise. I don't know exactly what that is. We did the gaskets from the downpipes, from the header to the exhaust, and we changed all the brackets and we replaced the mufflers. and then we had to take apart all the heat shields to put the ignition wires on. So somehow we're left with a little bit of a resonance there from one of those pieces which is vibrating. Haven't gone back and looked at that yet. I will attempt to do so, but I haven't done it yet. We can take a look at the rev counter, and it's idles steady, happily, at 600 RPM or a little bit more. The odometer does work. The car came in with, I think, 49,400 kilometers, and it's got 49,626, and we can see the odometer working. So we can run it all the way up through the gears. Road is really terrible here, but that does show you that the suspension works. There's a dead car in the middle of the road here. You know, it tracks straight. There's no, again, the road's really bad here, but the car tracks straight, and it brakes straight as it should. With, again, the road is bad with cambers, but brakes straight. There's no pulsation from the pedal or vibration, as you'd expect with the tires, rotors, pads, and calipers that are new. Synchro's excellent. The clutch is great. The gearbox is really nice. I don't know how usually when you get a really powerful car, or at least a really car with a big engine that has lots of torque, normally the gearbox is really heavy and kind of clumsy. I don't know how they make this Muncie 4-speed gearbox that deals with not only the torque of this engine, but also the big blocks as well. And it's actually just so light to use. I don't know how they do that. Speedometer jumps around a little bit. Downshift's really nice. Brake pedal's nice and firm. You know, and the temperature hardly moves. You know, I see it creep up a little bit more than that, but otherwise it stays cool. The car is criticized because it, you know, in the era, emissions were pretty tough, and the emission controls, you know, they took a lot of power away from the engine. They didn't take a lot of torque away from the engine because that's mostly a function of displacement. So the engine doesn't rev that high, and it's not as free breathing at the upper parts of the rev range. But it still has lots of torque, and that's really what you feel when you're just driving around. So this car, it doesn't feel slow, you know, because it's got such a great shove right off the line. The other thing is, it's really flexible. Like, for instance, I'm at 800 RPM, and I'll just leave it in 4th gear from 30 kilometers an hour. And from 2,000 RPM, it's pulling strong, and I can go all the way up to, you know,
faster than I want to go. Maybe 150 or 160. So from what, 20 kilometers an hour to 160 kilometers an hour, just using fourth gear in this car. So it's actually pretty satisfying to drive, and the chassis is relatively primitive. Brakes are actually pretty good, but 185 or 200 horsepower is probably about right for this car. You can easily improve the performance of the Chev small block, but if you put 300 horsepower in this car, you'd run into the limitations of the chassis and the brakes and so on. And then if you did that, you'd run into other, you'd really have to upgrade everything. So, I think this car with stock horsepower, if you wanted to change the exhaust or cam or do a few other things to the engine and get another 50 horsepower, fine. But it feels about right. Like it doesn't actually feel slow, is my point. It makes all the right noises. There's a lot of torque off the line. It's flexible. It's easy to drive. It's comfortable. It behaves itself. So, and it's just kind of a cool car to cruise around in. So, I think if you're happy with that, this is just a great classic car. It feels cool, and you get thumbs up like wherever you go. And after we did the work to it, and was that another one?
Yeah, it was yellow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're coming out, and it's just a cool, happy car to cruise around in. The kids like it, girls like it, guys like it. Everybody seems to like these. It just has such a satisfying engine note. So that'll be the end of our driving video on the C3. And yeah, I mean, all in all, it just to sum it up here, it's a completely original car. All the finishes are original, the paint's original. There was a tiny bit blown in on the back, but original paint. Good fiberglass, nothing is crazed, nothing's cracked, nothing's broken. Okay, so underneath the car is, you know, it got a light dusting of surface rust just from storage. We went in and we cleaned it up and pour 15 the chassis just to sort of make it easier to clean and protect it. There's no soft metal or any holes or any serious, there's no flaking of metal, etc. It was all like perfectly preserved frame and so on. So we've got that. People make a big deal of the bird cage, which is the metal structure that encompasses the cowl and the windscreen support or whatever. And there's photos of these kick panels in there taken off, looking at those, and they're unrusty. So it's got good like bones, good body, good chassis. It has low kilometers. We haven't hit 50,000 kilometers yet. It's a one-owner car. We've got the interior in nice shape. None of the vinyl is cracked. Seats are in nice shape. Leather's in nice shape. Steering wheel and so on is good. Mechanically, the car works really well. I mean, it just came out of kind of long-term storage, so there's maybe a couple little things to look at. You know, I think the alternator, there's a bearing in the front that is making a little bit noisy at idle, but with revs it goes away. There's some sort of a resonance from one of the heat shields somewhere, so we got to look at that. The clock doesn't work. The fuel gauge doesn't work. Okay, so there's a couple of things to look at. But overall, it's a really well preserved, authentic, honest, 1978 Corvette. From like I think a great period where the car might have not been that advanced, but it was affordable, it was cool, it made all the right noises, and they sold a lot of them. The year after, 79, is still the record year for Corvette sales, and this one wasn't that far behind. So all in all, it's a great kind of survivor car, and unfussy. I've been driving this for a week now, daily driving it, and it hasn't given me any trouble, even in really hot weather. So with that, I will leave it. Lawrence Romanosky and Aidan Goss from Calgary, Canada, the Lugnuts facility, and this car is going to go on Bring a Trailer, no reserve auction, so somebody could get a deal. Okay, with that, please like and subscribe.